That dreaded Monday is upon us, Toasters and Moshers. I'm Charles, and this is Riffs and Spliffs.
Hello there, Fraser.
Oh, what fresh hell is this?
Rolled up into this week's episode, we will be covering Columbian Haze, a 50-50 hybrid that is one to leave you feeling cool and sedated. Over our Columbian Haze, we'll be giving a nice sprinkle Keith dusting of the Blood Brothers. If you've never heard of this band, you're in for one hell of a thrill. This band has a lot going on with it, and honestly, one of my absolute top favorites, top 3 for sure, and I can't wait to share with you guys what this band has to offer. Columbian Haze. This was a strain that I was not able to collect a lot of information on as far as its origins and who really first cultivated it. I apologize for that, my friends. If anybody themselves knows a little bit more about this strain, or you feel like doing the research a bit yourself and you can find something as far as the origins, please, by all means, let me know, and I would be more than happy to add that to my knowledge. As far as my local cultivator and who I have my stash from, it is going to be from a company called Cultivate, and Cultivate is actually a sister company of another company known as IESO Holdings. I mentioned in the intro for this episode that this is going to be a 50-50 hybrid, or so they would say as a collective and an average when you search for this online, but I myself would agree with this. I've smoked it before. I'm smoking it right now as I do this nice little ditty of a podcast for you guys, and I gotta say it's still holding up. I feel very comfy in my chest, feel very warm. I got a nice head buzz going on, but nothing too crazy where it's causing like a headache or any kind of high pressure behind the eyes that, front of the head sativa high. So very overall good strain, very well balanced strain. When we look into the most commonly found terpenes, we are going to see that the top 3 terpenes in a Columbian Haze are going to be myrcene, ocimene, and linalool, which is nice because linalool gives you a little bit of a lavender flowery taste. Doing a little bit more of a dive into the terpene profile here, I just want to make a note that we see myrcene being the top terpene found in here. And for people who have trouble with things like sleeping or even just overall anxiety, can't really seem to relax or calm, this is going to be the one that's going to help you out. Myrcene is good for all those things: insomnia, anxiety, even some minor pain relief, but caryophyllene ultimately will be the one that you want for any kind of more so extreme pain relief. But yeah, myrcene is going to be a great one for anyone looking to heal any of those ailments for the day. When I was doing some looking around trying to find the average range for THC within Columbian Haze, I actually couldn't really find anything. Seemed to be kind of undetermined as far as a general consensus is concerned. But from my personal package, because it does include what the THC content and whatnot is on that, no terpenes unfortunately though. That being said, THCA content within my package is going to be 23.17%, just regular THC coming in at 0.43%, and there was actually no signs of CBDA or CBD in general in here, so not really much to talk about there. When we look at the most common / notable flavor / scent profile for this one, we're actually going to see we can smell a bit of cheese on this one, along with pine / earthy and a sweet mint, and that's kind of why I enjoy this strain even more so compared to a lot of the ones that I have, because I really like cheese strains. If you remember me talking about that a couple episodes ago, I'm a big cheese person.
I am the cheese. I am the best character on the show. I am better than both the salami and the bologna combined.
But here where I live in the Midwest, it's hard to find the cheese, and I just want to be cheesing, guys. I just want to cheese it up, and Illinois fisting me right up the ass with that one. And and the prices, but we're not going to get into that. I will say as well, you really can taste that pine and earthy. Not so much of the sweet mint for me personally, but the cheese really overtakes it with this strain, and again, I just really love the cheese. It really makes my nose squeamish.
I don't like the vanilla because it makes me a little go squeamish. Theo Root.
What to expect as far as the most common effects when we smoke this strain? You can expect to feel focused and alert. You can expect to feel uplifted and energetic. For me personally, I would say about the same all around with some relaxing qualities. Like I said, that myrcene kind of is what does it, brings it in to the chill zone, if you will. Overall, though, this is one of those strains where I found that I actually agree with the consensus, and from what I read from the average, this is one of those strains where for my body it pretty much seems to do the same that it does for most people, whereas most of the strains I've covered at this point, I tend to differ a bit, but this one kind of hit right on the head with the 50-50, and it's a good one. Look for it. When looking at this strain from a medicinal standpoint and what we could use it to help us medicinally or with our physical body or mental state, you can expect to cure some fatigue, help that depression out, headaches and migraines. Like I said, with the head high from this one, you don't get that concentrated in the front or right behind the eyes, and I feel like those are the ones that they'll snatch you up and get you into the headaches if you don't already have one, or if you do, it'll just kind of make it worse. But you can also expect to have this help some inflammation as well, and that's where the osamine comes into play. Coming to the end of our cannabis education section in this episode, we have the lineage breakdown, and this one is going to be a fairly simple one, nothing too crazy like a couple of the ones we have seen at this point, so let's get on into that. Looking at the breakdown of Columbian Haze, we have Columbian Gold, and we're going to take that and mix it with a Thai Haze. If we break this down a little further and look into those lineages, Columbian Gold is going to be just straight up Columbia Sativa landrace. It's just a Columbia mixed with Columbia. Just easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And as for Thai Haze, it's as simple as the name. It's a Thai landrace strain mixed with a haze. And that's going to do it. We are over and out for our cannabis education section. And now a band that needs, honestly, no introduction. We have the Blood Brothers. How was that for an introduction to a band? Toasters and Moshers, very chaotic, wouldn't you say? And now let's divvy on down into this music appreciation section for the Blood Brothers. First and foremost, this band came to us on the scene in 1997 out of the east side suburbs of Seattle, Washington. Rainy old Seattle. The Blood Brothers are no longer an operating band, and their career as a band lasted for 10 years from 1997 to 2007. Then later, about 7 years later, this band would reunite for a few shows, mostly festival appearances, and then had no later plans of any new music even. What a bummer. Going by the official, or what would, I guess, from the internet standards, say their official genre is listed as, we have post-hardcore, screamo, experimental. Looking at the original lineup of the Blood Brothers, we will see Jordan Bliley, he is the vocalist, Johnny Whitney, also their second vocalist. Then we have Devin Welch on guitar, Morgan Henderson on bass, and Mark, and I apologize, and I'm probably going to butcher his last name, Gajadhar. If anybody can clear that up for me, that'd be great. Thanks. And when we compare this original lineup to what would end up being the final lineup, we only see one very small change in That small change happened early on into the Blood Brothers' career, and that is we will see a change in the guitarist. So in the final lineup, we got Jordan Bellilli still on vocals, Johnny Whitney still on vocals, but now we see Cody Vodolato on guitar, with Morgan Henderson still on bass, and Mark still on drums. I'm not even gonna embarrass myself by trying to say that shit. R.I.P. As far as how the band came to be, it is said that Jordan, Johnny, and Mark were to have been the birthers of the Blood Brothers from a previous band that they had all played in together. After having added Morgan and Devin, they ended up coming up with the name the Blood Brothers. And please don't ever get this Blood Brothers confused with that fucking Papa Roach song. This isn't
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort.
2001 Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Get on out of here with that shit. After having this finished lineup, the band went on to then record their first 7-inch for only $200 the following year. Only shortly after their official debut release, Rumors Laid Waste, with their original guitarist Devin, he ended up exiting the band. Not sure on the origin of why this was. Maybe I should look a little deeper, but again, the Blood Brothers, they're one of those bands, especially compared to a lot of the ones I've already covered. They're way off the charts. A lot of people probably don't even really know them. Small circle of people, I'd imagine, know the Blood Brothers and are fans. But yeah, if you happen to have any you Toasters and Moshers out there happen to have any information on why Devin left or if he was kicked out, I'd really appreciate it. I'd love to put that into my encyclopedia of music knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Make my brain turn into Jimmy Neutron.
The pizza is aggressive.
Through their career, the Blood Brothers actually hopped around from various record labels, even though they only had a small handful of albums compared to a lot of bands from these genres. I feel like maybe I'm just wrong and I don't listen to enough in this genre. I don't know. But ultimately, after they ended up breaking up, Epitaph Records ended up doing a whole reissue of their discography other than their album, This Adultery Is Ripe. Speaking of discographies, coincidentally, it is about that time that we are going to hop into the discography of the Blood Brothers. Not a very big discography, not too small, but nothing compared to a couple of the bands that we've had on here at this point. So coming first down the pipe, we see Rumors Laid Waste, which was in 96/97. Those were the times they worked on it and then released it. I guess sometimes it's a bit unknown. I looked at the back of my Rumors Laid Waste CD, and it actually said 96/97, so I'm just putting what I found on there. I don't know. Take that with a grain of salt. Take it as Bible, gospel. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Second release and the first release with their new guitarist Cody Vodolato is going to be This Adultery Is Ripe. That dropped in 2000. Then we see the release of their third record, March on Electric Children. That was only 2 years later in 2002. Only a year later at that point, we have Burn Piano Island Burn in 2003. that one was actually, if I'm not mistaken, the one that kind of really clarified their sound, and they really got their tones in order, and that's the one that kind of catapulted them into like mainstream popularity as far as the post-hardcore and like underground scene is concerned. But Burn Piano Island Burn 2003, and then we see only a year later again Crimes in 2004. I did include the 2005 EP Love Rhymes with Hideous Car Wreck just because I feel that one, it's worth mentioning. It's fantastic, great EP, we'll get into that. And then our last release from them is going to be seen only another year later in 2006, and that is entitled Young Machetes. Apparently, when I did the outline for this show, like the Word document, I did not do my ranking. I didn't write it. So I'm kind of just going to do this off the top of my head. I listen to them almost on a weekly basis still, so their music's pretty fresh in my head, and I've always been pretty positive my ranking if I have ever had to rank them. So here we go, gang. Let's get into it.
Sorry about this, gang.
First and foremost, I'm going to kind of just lump at number 1, Crimes with Love Rhymes EP, just because they're pretty much attached. It's just like a little addition to Crimes. But Crimes in itself, that album was so experimental. You hear a lot of the Wurlitzer on that one Johnny Whitney uses. You have a lot of heavy hitting songs like Trash Flavored Trash. Teen Heat's pretty heavy. You got a pretty heavy breakdown in Love Rhymes. But then you have nice soft stuff like, Live at the Apocalypse Cabaret, Crimes in itself, and then just the two ending tracks, Devastator and Celebrator, are just bangers. The acapella of or is it Devastator? Yeah, Devastator. Just, I don't know. I just feel they really put 120% into that. Cody's orange tones at the time, whether they were clean or he had his distortion going, just so squeaky and punchy in your face. The guys' vocals, Jordan and Johnny, they just seemed at their best. Well, Jordan's always were just strong in my opinion overall, but Johnny, as time went on, because that shriekiness, I feel like his voice kind of started to get ate up, I should say. Wow. Roast me. Johnny's vocals, I just feel, started to get ate up as time went on, and you could tell, especially by Crimes. But I personally think that shriekiness on Crimes is gold. It's eerie, and especially with the songs that they have on there, it works. And number 1 is Crimes. Coming in at number 2, I'm going to throw this to This Adultery Is Ripe. Their first release we see with Cody Vodolato. I feel like that album, obviously, you hear the big difference between Devin on Rumors Laid Waste and Cody when he first comes in, and you really hear Cody bring in more of that mathy sound and even some like grindy, like panicky sounding chords. And I feel like because of him, he was like the big catalyst to kind of catapult Blood Brothers into the direction that they ended up going, only to get better and better pretty much as like their discography came out. And yeah, you got songs like James Brown, Jennifer. The closing track is just so in your face and go, go, go the whole time. The opening track, even Rescue, and then second track, Doctor. They're both, Johnny Whitney's vocals were so young sounding, and Jordan Beluli still sounds like the old man that he always sounds like he was. Yeah, the guitar tones are so kind of grimy sounding, and the production isn't the best, I will say, but I feel like the riffs that come out of that album, and even Morgan, his bass parts, if you listen to some of his bass parts where the guitar is more simple even, he just completely fills in the voids and really makes his bass stand out, makes the songs that much better sounding. This Adultery is right for sure. Other than that production, it has everything and gives you the most bang for your buck for such an older sounding record. Coming in third, I'm going to throw that to Burn, Piano Island, Burn. I know most of the community would probably agree and say that that is their best album. I do think it's a very, very strong album. I will say, I think next to Crimes, that's the album where Cody really finds his guitar tone, and it's just so crisp and clear, and that's because of the production. And the reason one of the reasons I didn't give Burn Piano Island Burn first is because the production was so crisp and clear, and I feel like the production that went with Crimes kind of a little bit more, like I said, the album has more of an eerie, like subtle overtone, kind of horror-ish. I feel like it's an album you would listen to during Halloween or, spooky time, and I just feel like that does the tones a little better. But also Burn Piano Island Burn, that's kind of a tongue twister. Say that 5 times fast, people. I also feel it wasn't I can't talk today. I don't feel it was as experimental as Crimes, because pretty much for the most part, it was mainly just, heavier bangers, more of that post-hardcore, go, go, go. There were softer parts, like Salesman Dever Max that has the nice acoustic in it. I feel it was just more of a straight shot as far as like what they were going for the sound. That's why I clock in at number 3. I just also, to kind of justify it being under This Adultery, I just think the riffs that came out of Adultery were so different and fresh for that time. And obviously he built into it with March on Electric Children after that, and then Burn Piano Island Burn. And now I'm kind of droning on, but you guys get the picture. Burn Piano Island Burn coming in at 3. After that, number 4, I'm going to place Young Machetes. For a last effort, I still feel like, and if any of you really know about the band or read about them at that time, by that point they all pretty much were at each other's throats for the most part. Certain members were, at least, and I read interviews where some of them said, I just can't imagine ever working with these dudes again, or certain individuals, blah blah blah. And even for having that going on in the band at the time, they still put out a banger of a last album, if I do say so myself, even though it's like lower on the spectrum here. Young Machetes has some bangers, Set Fire to the Face on Fire, So In Your Face, Laser Life, that was, even though a single, one of my favorites. I do really like Camouflage. I love the Wurlitzer work that he does in that. I feel like that's one of his best works as far as the Wurlitzer when he uses it. But then you got like stuff on the back half, like Giant Swan. 1, 2, 3, 4 guitars is really fun and interesting, kind of more mellow. I actually really, really like, if I had to pick a favorite, Lift the Veil, Kiss the Tank. The guitar tones in that, on the album, just in general, sound a lot more glassy compared to the past 2 albums. Kind of went from squeaky to glassy, and not that I'm not about that, but I feel like when tones are a bit more glassy, it's harder to understand them sometimes, especially when playing chords, and specific, like, not necessarily even power chords, but, I'm no music theory virtuoso over here. If you do like an inverted 7-6-5 chord up on the first 3 strings or something like that, that's kind of why I don't clock in a little bit higher. I just feel like the production was not as good as the past 2 albums. The guitar tones were a little bit more glassy, very experimental, and I love that about it. I feel like it does justice kind of growing from Crimes. As far as the experimental aspect, they just kind of got more experimental as time went on, honestly. Young Machetes coming in at number 4. And then I'm just going to kind of do 5 and 6, these last 2 together. Not putting them together, but just kind of going to clump it for the sake of not taking up so much time. I would put March on Electric Children at 5, which was the second album we see. Well, with Cody Vodolato, I should have finished that. And then I'm going to put Last Rumors Laid Waste. And not that I don't like that one. That one's very, very punky and more like grungy, kind of like what was coming out of Seattle early in the 90s, hence they started the mid-late 90s kind of writing stuff and working on that album, but you could clearly tell that it's kind of from Seattle in that grungy period. But overall, the production just wasn't good. Even the guitarist just wasn't, Devin at the time wasn't anything crazy. He wasn't doing anything super interesting. It was kind of, the rest of the band that really brought the steak sauce. Johnny and Jordan, their vocals were still there. Morgan was still doing crazy bass stuff. And Mark was even still doing some interesting stuff with the guitar work that he had. Well, probably because he was more so jamming along with Morgan. It'd probably be better and easier to play some more complicated mathy stuff, or, what Mark does later on in the band's career. I guess that'll kind of wrap that up. March on Electric Children was nice because you kind of get that beginning. That's when you really hear the jump from This Adultery is Ripe, like Cody's grimy tones, and then the cleaning up process as they get to Burn Piano Island, Burn, Crimes, and then Young Machetes. They kind of see the transition from dirty to clean, crisp, clean again, but with a nice production that the Crimes, production was, gave it that nice lower tone, kind of warm sound, and then straight to glassy on that last Young Machetes. That's going to be it, gang. That's going to be my rating of these albums. And if you'd like to discuss, what to do, you can hit me up through email or hit me up on any of my social medias. I got Twitter, YouTube, even Facebook, whatever suits you. Whatever suits you.
No, say.
A year after they released Young Machetes in 2007, the band took to social media in November, actually, of that year with a short but sweet goodbye letter announcing their untimely breakup. How sad. The one singer, Jordan, he was actually cited in an interview essentially stating the reason for the breakup was due to the fact that the members, like I said, were not getting what they wanted out of the group anymore, and their musical differences seem to have been an added factor to the disbandment. As we wrap up our music appreciation section of the Blood Brothers, we're going to close it out and kill this roach with some interesting facts. First thing I got for you guys is that the members of the Blood Brothers also have many other projects/solo endeavors, if you weren't aware. To name a few of these, we have an old project called Neon Blonde. That was Johnny and Mark, and that was during the time of the Blood Brothers still. After the Blood Brothers broke up, we then see Johnny and Cody, the guitarist, going on to form a band called Jaguar Love. That was really interesting. I'll probably throw them in a chill 'em out eventually at some point because they're kind of more kicked back and Token 2 kind of band. We have a band called Head Wound City, which is very chaotic. I'll probably definitely cover them on this podcast at some point. That is going to be Jordan and Cody's project, and I believe Nick Zinner of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and I can't remember who the bassist is, so don't kill me. Last one I'm going to note is a band called Past Lives, and I actually did not know, as far as the members, I did know Jordan was in this band, but apparently not only Jordan, but Morgan, Mark, and the original guitarist Devin make up this band. And if you've never listened to Past Lives, very different, very chill and relaxed and laid back, kind of an indie-ish vibe. Go and do yourself a favor and check these other bands out. They're really good guys. Next bit of an interesting fact I have for you is that the Blood Brothers contributed to a Queen tribute album, if you weren't aware of this. And the name of the album was Dynamite with a Laser Beam, and they did a version of Under Pressure, which is pretty interesting. I'll throw in a little clip here for you guys so you can get a taste. Coming in last as far as an interesting fact, very special treat actually, they have a live DVD titled Jungle Rules Live that was released in 2003, so not, kind of halfway in between their career span, but yeah, if you can find this somewhere, it's actually very rare find, whether it's physical or online. I've always had trouble trying to track it down even online. I've never owned it physically, but I've found it a couple times throughout the past and took the chance to watch it, and it's a good one. If you guys can track it down, y'all are in for a great time. Really makes you want to get up and mosh. That being said, we're going to look to our riff of the week, and this week's riff is going to come off of their album, This Adultery is Ripe, and I went with the song Jordan Belilli Pets the Wild Horse's Mane, the intro/outro riffs, and I will play a little clip for you now. Pretty interesting stuff there, huh? Definitely something that kind of noodles your brain and just makes you bob your head and get into it a bit. But you know what? This band is too good, and I am going to throw in... I'll do it when I'm editing this episode, but I'm going to throw in a little clip for you guys, and it's going to be a surprise for y'all as it is for me when I go to pick it. So here you go, and let's enjoy this together. Well, now that we've smoked out this spliff, Toasters and Moshers, let's get to our nice, relaxing segment, Chill 'em Out. In this week's Chill 'em Out, I actually went with another track from a band that I had included in an early episode, and that is from a band, Hammock, and I went with their song, Dark Beyond the Blue. And they are, if you don't recall, a neoclassical ambient post-rock outfit. Dark Beyond the Blue is going to be from their Longest Year EP, and this EP was originally released in 2011, but they did a re-release in 2020, which is very ironic because that's the year COVID happened, don't y'all remember? Another one in the books, bagged and tagged, wouldn't you say, Toasters and Moshers? Boy, was this a fun one, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this one as much as I did making it. As always, if you guys want to check the links down below in the description, you can find all my social media where you can keep up with all the happenings of the Riffs and Spliffs podcast. Stay high, stay clean, and most importantly, stay toasty, my friends.